Part 47. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 466. Yan Song looked up and looked at Gui Yuanzun, her mind still echoing the words of Gui Yuanzun. She knows what is the worst thing in her heart. Everyone has good and bad thoughts. The cultivation of immortals is a way of purifying one's existence all the way. After practicing, the evil thoughts will be lifted up. This evil thought can also be called a demon, but it is not the same as a demon. The demons can be broken and can overcome themselves. But most of the evil thoughts in people's hearts are born with them. Can only be suppressed or stripped. Hong Chen, is he the worst being in Giwen Tianzun's heart? Yan Song wasn't convinced, she was not intuitive. She tried to discuss with Giwen Tianzun, he is not very bad, can he let him go? Giwen Tianzun sighed softly, Zioch, he didn't save you nothing in return. When your master changed his usual nature, he killed so many of your loved ones because it was doing something wrong. As long as it thought, it can seduce people. It was weak at first, but then it was able to liberate and control the puppets from his body, presumably by virtue of the resentment of your brothers and sisters, and that you killed many people that way. Those people have a demon-like violent gas, and he away from you. Zioch, don't believe it, it's a demon, it's the worst and most treacherous being. As long as Giwen Tianzun mentioned a little bit, Yanj immediately understood the cause and effect. It seems that this is really the case. Wanting to come, Hong Chen sent her to Wuzong, and he had his own thoughts. She turned her head and looked at Hong Chen. His lips moved and he asked softly, is that so? Hong Chen laughed lowly, his voice, with a slight whisper, lingering, do you believe it? He rhetorically asked. Before the words were spoken, Giwen Tianzun moved at this moment. He ripped open the enchantment, and the snow was sweeping towards Hong Chen. If a person with a sharp eye looks closely, he will find that the snow is as powerful as an artifact. Red dust's black gas scattered into countless want to escape. The body of Yanj is also moving in this moment. She held the wok in her hand and fluttered in front of Hong Chen and smashed at the snow in the sky. Those blizzards were cracked by the energy brought out by her wok. But there are countless, quickly passed through the body of Yanj. Fei Shui disappeared at the next moment, and Lord Giwen looked at the Song with a look of surprise, little Song? You. Although he was standing still outside the door. He is still wearing a red shirt, his features are handsome and unparalleled. Yanj looked at him, with regret, Saburo. She whispered, he's a demon, and his nature is evil to evil, but he didn't do what you said. If she were doing Zioch, she might believe the words of Giwen Tianzun. But she is a Song, red dust, but there is something that she can detect. Hong Chen did not do those things, she knew best. Giwen Tianzun looked at Yanj, and seemed unbelievable. At this moment, Yanj would protect the red dust. The red dust behind Yanj is wrapped in Yanj's body at this moment. He said eagerly, little Song, that ray of soul knows me. Only in this way can he have a blow with his holiness Giwen, instead of being cowed behind by women behind him now. She believed him, and at this moment, his confidence increased. But the Song was resisting, she glared at Hong Chen and yelled, don't do this. At this time, the wok in her hand hit Hong Chen again. Yanj knew that Hong Chen could not beat her, and she didn't order the wok at all. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 467. This pot smashed into the dust with the thunder that could not be stopped by words. Even though red dust is a mist-like entity without existence at this moment, when he was hit by this wok, he still screamed fiercely. The pain that the spirit tear turned into substance, Hong Chen finally understood why he felt so painful when he was hit by an iron pan. This iron pot even wanted to devour this ray of soul. And the pot seemed to fit his soul. Otherwise, he would not be so easily swallowed. But it was too late when he responded. For a moment, all the black magic was caught in the bottom of the black paint pot. At the next moment, a cute muddy beast that fell from the bottom of the pot came out. The moment when Yan Ji's body pulled away from her was like she lost her support and fell to the ground. His Holiness Giwen teleported forward and took his words into his arms. Everything happened in an instant. When Giwen Tianzun reacted, Yan Song had arrived in his arms, and the demon had disappeared by the pot. It was also at this time that he saw the bloodstains of Yan's body. He knew the wounds on her, but he was injured by the snow. These snowy days are only valid for magic, and they are also a magic weapon. Because they are too lethal and extremely cruel, he has almost never used them. I used it on the demon today, because the devil is fog-shaped, and he also intended to kill the demon. He originally imprisoned Yanj at that moment, but he didn't know how Yanj would break away from his own shackles, and he didn't understand why Yanj would be in front of that demon at that moment. He couldn't even understand why the snowy sky would kill the words. He was more fortunate when Yanj helped the demon block the snow. Fortunately, the snow will only have a lethal effect on the demon, and the higher the demon's power, the greater the destructive power, and if he touches a few pieces, the demon will flying soul completely dissipated in this heaven and earth, cut grass and roots without leaving any traces. But now, seeing the injured Yanj, seeing the blood that Yanj could not stop flowing, he was a little helpless, trying to block these wounds with help words. All his previous congratulations turned into haste and fear. What happened? Is he wrong in practicing the snow-capped exercises? It must be so, it must be so. Yanj looked up and smiled comfortably. Saburo, I lied today. She spoke softly, and said such a word, she was already panting. Her face was as pale as paper, but her bright eyes stared at Giwen Tianzun. I am not a constitution that can purify magic energy. In fact, I repair the magic. You are not Gui Yuanzun interrupted her. Don't talk, Zioch, don't talk. His last sentence was almost begging. He kept pumping Reiki towards her body, trying to help her repair those wounds. The song sneered lightly, but she still looked cute, but because there was no blood on her face, her smile seemed extremely weak. Fixing magic is easier than cultivating immortals. Such shortcuts make me unable to escape temptation. At that time, too weak, I do everything to get revenge. Saburo, I've never been as good as you think, and I'm wicked. I didn't intend to let the words hang. I don't know why I can't control myself. Presumably you hate me so much that I have a distorted mentality of revenge on society. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 468. His throat rolled, and he couldn't say a word. None of the aura he entered into her body could do anything, her wounds couldn't heal, and the blood couldn't stop. How to do? How to do? Saburo, I'm sorry, I lost you and let you down again and again. I never thought that Saburo would be so good to me. Saburo, you forgot me. Okay, I'm going to be a god, don't have any relationship with people like me. When I was young, I was most envious of those who were able to cultivate immortals. I dreamed of the beautiful pictures of those who practiced cultivation. Saburo, I can't do it, but you can do it. I'm so happy to think of you one day. At that time, Saburo must have been beautiful and beautiful. The blood on her gradually became black. But she didn't seem to realize it, and the blood in her mouth was swallowed back again, with a smile and a fascinated look at His Holiness Giwen. You're not good anywhere, you lied to me and hid me, but I still like you. He hugged her tightly, and he liked to say that, and suddenly he was so bright that he finally knew himself. Mind. He likes her. No matter what she had done before, No matter what she had experienced before, he still couldn't restrain himself from liking her. He couldn't restrain himself and couldn't imagine how terrible life would be without her. So he said he wanted to put his hand on her back and wanted to put her forehead on her forehead. His hand was caught by Yanj. "Saburo," she called again, "don't do this. I am a person. It is my greatest joy in life to meet you and Hong Chen. I am very satisfied. I like Saburo, and I have no regrets in my life. Saburo, if you have anything to do with me, I will die. Saburo, I'm fine, I'm so happy, I just hope you're good, and I'm just as happy." Her nails were almost pinched into the palm of his hand, and her voice was getting lighter and lighter. "Saburo, the only thing I can't put up with is you must be good. Be good." Oh, she really doesn't want him to be blackened again. In this plane, she really wants her best, but there is something wrong with his life. This mighty man is not only a pit, but also poisonous. She wanted to live a happy life with him, but Chen Yi can't do it now. "Saburo, I just beg you, well." She didn't speak again for a long time. The room didn't know when it was dead. And he seemed unconscious. She's grasping his hand, has always been particularly strong. He knelt on the ground, holding her body with one hand, and holding her tightly with one hand. It's been this way, motionless. As if only he could lie to her. She was still angry and she was still talking. After the blood on her body dried up, crystal snowflakes flew out from those wounds, and in the mid-air, where he saw, the snowflake melted and disappeared. He glanced, and finally a look on his calm face. "Don't." He was terrified and yelled, "No." He tried to hold her wound with his hand, trying to freeze her body. But even so, her body turned into snowflakes piece by piece. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 469. If Mantianxu was created by me, but I can't cultivate. If the world is full of snow, then the picture must be particularly beautiful. By that time, the magic of this world will no longer exist. I don't know if I can see that picture. Young man, I will give you the snow. I hope you can be luckier than me, you can see the glorious scene of the snow. The old, expectant voice of the old man sounded again in the ear of His Holiness Giwen. The sound that made him excited and longed for at the time, but at this moment it became a magic sound, making him crazy. He fluttered the rising snowflakes from her, but before they touched them, the snowflakes scattered. This snow flooding method can purify the demon into snowflakes and fly away, and when the last piece of snowflakes dissipates, the so-called demons will disappear. Like the old man, he thought that the snowy sky must be particularly beautiful. But now, he looks at this picture, how crazy. Little song," he yelled wildly, tears in his face, "small song." He held the person tightly and tightly in his arms, and his hand was as if he was going to inlay her into his own flesh. As soon as he thought about it, the ice covered the two people one by one. His tears were even frozen on his face, but he didn't notice it. He tried to ease her condition in this way. His forehead was against Yan Song's forehead, trying to pour all of his cultivation into her body. However, it does not help. The person in his arms was just a blink of an eye, and it became a snowflake rising up in the sky and then dissipating. There was nothing left in the empty space in his hands, and even the blood on the ground that belonged to her became snowflakes. The last snowflake dissipates, and the demon is gone. These words sounded over and over in his knowledge of the sea, and he stood still holding her, motionless. It seems that at this moment, the spirit is falling away himself. What remains today is just a shell. Time has frozen, and the whole room seems to have not changed. The man standing in the room seemed to have turned into stone. In the courtyard, the red plum tree flowers bloomed and melted after the snow drifted in the sky. Sunrise and sunset, Spring to winter. So many times, I don't know how many spring and autumn. The man in the room finally moved. His eyelashes trembled, but the tears in his eyes did not shed. Slowly retract the hand that was still embracing, squat down, pick up the mud doll left by her on the ground, and take the most important thing in the palm of your hand to look. It is a mud puppet animal. Such an animal has never been seen before. It must have been pinched by herself. He wrapped the clay puppet carefully with a papa and put it in his arms. This is her, the only thing left for him. He turned and walked towards the door. Outside the house, a snow-white world came into view. The snow had piled up more than a foot thick, and the whole world seemed to be white. He landed in the snow, step by step. Red clothes flew up with the snow. Long road, you alone. His blush and the row of lonely footprints behind him were gradually wrapped in snow and seemed to melt into the snowy world. The snow was so big, but in his ears, there seemed to be her flirtatious laughter. Saburo, when I was young, I was most envious of those who were able to cultivate immortals. I dreamed of the beautiful pictures of those who practiced ascension. When Saburo was soaring, it must have been particularly beautiful. But Zioch, I can't do it. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 470. Yanj entered the system of mysterious fans, and for a moment the brain went blank. She closed her eyes and eased her emotions. She has gone through so much, naturally discovering that this task has brought something wrong to her body. Involuntarily reached out and touched his chest. I don't know why, I always feel that place hurts. Could it be that what happened to the body? So close your eyes and look at the ontology in your own chaotic space. To her surprise, even though the pot was born, a small green shoot grew on the only branch she had left. This is really true. The discomfort on her chest was completely washed away by joy, and she seemed to be able to see her green hair in the future. Fortunately, although the mighty one may be blackened again this time, she is also satisfied with the harvest of this little green shoot. Opening his eyes, Yanj looked at the chicken. The chicken fluttered his wings, and fluttered towards the shoulder of Yansong with glory, but before he fell on the shoulder of Yansong, Yansong was forced to retreat with a look of disgust. Well, what's your expression? The chicken turned halfway and settled on his own high stool. He raised his neck and stared at the song. Hey, what's your attitude, you, and isn't it great for those who are able to spend their lives together? You don't even want friends for the sake of sex? Yanji rolled his eyes at it. What lives together? What happened in the plane? Don't you say you don't know? The chicken cocked his face. I blocked the system. What happened to you later? Why, don't you say that you and the mighty haven't slept for a lifetime? The chicken looked at Yanji's face and understood. It snorted. Then what did you do to him this time? Without waiting for the song to answer, it said, the mighty one is not blackened this time. How did you do it? In other words, the song was surprised. This time it has become such a situation. Well, she wouldn't meet a fake powerful person. However, it is also possible that the mighty one listened to her last words, and then practiced hard, and the scenery soared in the end. This guy, at last, has such a little power. Yanj asked the cub, can you still see what happened after I left the plane? What happened to the mighty one after I died? Chicken. How could this wood die before the mighty one? Hemp eggs, this is a poisonous poison point for the mighty. It shook its head. This time I blocked the space of the Geekman system at the end, leaving only the way for you to return. Once you return, the Geekman system will lose contact with that plane, and I can't check what happened to the mighty one. Without waiting for the song to answer, it immediately said, this guy is not blackened, which means that your operation is worth learning from. What happened to you this time later? You and the mighty are not going to hold a double repair ceremony. Don't you say he killed you for his ascension. After much deliberation, the chicken can only think of such a possibility that the powerful cannot be Blackened. If only she had killed her. Yan Ji sighed and said roughly what happened later. When the song began to talk about red dust, the chicken cub was a sleeping trough. All said that you do anti care about Hong Chen and stay away from that guy. You said you just have no heart. Why are you suddenly out of your mind? Is it possible that your mind was eaten by that guy? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 471. Yanj didn't say anything, she stared at the chicken chili still in a cold voice. Chicken. Suddenly I don't want to say anything. Of course, it cannot be forced by force, but it feels that it needs to be a Buddhist beast. Being angry makes you old, eh? The chicken sighed again. Fortunately, the mighty one is not blackened, fortunately. It's not blackened, but the mission is not completed, otherwise the chicken will not react in this way. You knew from the beginning that red dust was the devil of the mighty one, Yan Ji asked coldly, why not tell me? I don't know, the cub thought he was wronged. I knew that guy was dangerous and made me uncomfortable. Where can I know what he is? Yanj is not so easy to persuade. Don't you say that the fan system has been upgraded? Can you not even find the information of those characters in the plane? The chicken was even more aggrieved. Although the geek system has been upgraded, it is also a geek system. It is not almighty. If it is almighty, why bind you to do the task? And the information in the plane is also a general one, and most of it will not be open to you when you do the task. Words of song. I used to think of a brick pit, but now she thinks that the system of enthusiasts is even more pitted. He has never seen such a conservative system. Chicken, I also want you to complete the task smoothly. I also want you to be full of golden fingers, golden thighs one by one, but the system sometimes has permissions restrictions, cannot do whatever you want. But fortunately, you have that pot now, which is a big golden finger. Speaking of that pot, Yanj suddenly felt like he didn't want to say anything. This golden finger is her own good, she has eaten all the hard work all her life, that egg, that guy is used by her is necessary. If she goes to thank her again, what's the difference with her abused constitution? Scanning the eye space, Yanj asked, what about that fox? As soon as he heard the interrogation, the laughed and smiled, that guy has lost all the hair. I'm afraid that he will be seen by you, and hide from it. The chickens stay in this space and have become a gambler of 1,000 levels. Nine-tailed guys who are immersed in men and women, gambling is a pleasure for him. When it comes to men and women, nine-tails are better than chickens, but when it comes to gambling, nine-tails are not enough to lose. Looking at the cocky tail of the cock, Yan Song stunned, a hair is gone. Chicken, yeah, none of it. Yan Song, eggs are showing up. Chicken, yes, he lost all the hair on the egg. Yellow/poison/gambling, really can't touch it? Even the fur-loving people like Zhu Wei lost their hair for gambling. Terrible. Originally I wanted to ask the chicken, Zhu Wei's gadget is not big, but then I think that it's not like it's okay with her. The guy and the man take all the food, even if the gadget is not big, you can use the back. The chicken has become addicted, and Ziza continued to say to Song Ji, it just happened that your pot is out now, you call it out, let's just four of us make a table of mahjong. Words of song. She said, I continue the mission. The smile on the chicken's face froze, and he glared resentfully at the words, just make a circle, and it's not a short time. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 472. One lap has two laps, and two laps have three laps. This is similar to Zhu Wei's covered hair. Of course, Yanj is not like the guy with the brain on the tail. She shook her head, her voice firm, "Enter the plane, hurry." The chicken babbled and pulled his head shell, Would, you are such a dull guy, hurry up, how far you can roll." Yanj entered a new level in the state of goosebumps. In the new plane, the host of Yanj is a dumb schoolgirl. She is also a school flower girl. There are many boys who adore the host in the school, but the host is not attentive. After all, a beautiful girl has been honed by various expressions since she was a child. The school has a new male student who has been recruited by virtue of his specialty. Boys play basketball very well, and as a result, they have attracted countless girls. But this boy, he is enthusiastically pursuing his host. The host is not attentive. She just wants to study hard and doesn't want to consider such things for the time being. All changes are made in the evening. The father, who often came to pick up the host, was unable to pick up the host because of the temporary overtime. The host had to go home alone. This often happens. What surprised her, however, was that she was blocked by two rogues in an empty alley. When the rogue saw her, she realized that she could not speak, and she touched the host's body with her pig's trotters, and said some shameless words on her mouth. The boy riding the bike rushed out at this time. He beat two men and snarled at the host and ran. The host fluttered for a moment, and immediately spread their legs to run. There was no brick iron rod in the alley. Fortunately, there was a large road outside the alley. But when she ran out, she found out that she couldn't even call for help. She was pulling passers-by and crying into the alley. Her look was so suspicious that everyone was afraid of any deception like fairy jumping, so she avoided her one by one. They could move these people, and they were so anxious about the boys, so the host had to run back again. When she could move, she thought she would run back to help line up the boys. However, when she ran back, she saw the boy covered in blood in the pool of blood, and the two gangsters were long gone. The boy died, and his family had a single pass for 3 generations. His grandma was crying and fainted outside the hospital corridor. His mother called the host and asked the host to return her son. The two gangsters were soon arrested. However, the boy died and could not survive. His parents asked the host why he had to run away alone. One by one, she poked at her with her fingers and wanted to beat her. Her parents kept calling for those people, hugging her and trying to protect her. But the host knelt on the ground, motionless. The boy was obviously trying to save her, but she ran as soon as she turned around, but left the boy there to deal with the two gangsters alone. Yeah, why did she run then? Why on earth? Why can't she stay, fight the two gangsters with the boys, why she knows she can't speak, and chooses to turn around? The host has been shrouded in this shadow all his life and can no longer come out. She never married, and often went to the boy's parents, but they didn't need her help at all, and the only thing they wanted was a son. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 473. After the death of his parents, the host chose to die. A person's life may make countless kinds of wrong decisions, and there may be countless opportunities to go the wrong way and start again. But the host, she thought, ruined the life of a boy, ruined a family. She hopes she can start over again. If she had to die alone, she hoped that it was she who died, not the boy. After Yanj merged the memory of the host's wish was actually quite easy. The time to enter the plane was just right, the day before the boy Li Che came to the school where the host was. The host is now a freshman, and the school is not too far from home. Most of the time the host is on a bus, but sometimes the school is too late at night, and her father will pick her up by electric car. Her parents were just a child, and she was aphasia again, so her parents regarded her as a jewel. Even if she was a college student, she also loved her as a child. Despite aphasia, the host's life has always been very good. Yan Ji, carrying a skull bag, managed to squeeze into a bus. Before he could grab the handrails, the car suddenly braked suddenly, and Yan Ji's body fell backwards immediately. She was supported by a hand on her shoulder, which saved her from the tendency to fall backwards. Yanj took advantage of this time to grab the handrails, turned his head and turned back to the person with a thankful smile. The man behind him was a very handsome guy. When he saw Yanj smile, he just wanted to talk about Yanj because of the flourishing beauty of Yanj, and Yanj turned his head away and ignored him. The song of the song turned away, and later I remembered, the young guy behind her seemed to be the boy the host thought of. Li Che. The world is so big and so clever. On a small bus, she even met Li Che. This is really a fate. Chicken, wood, this guy is powerful. Words, oh. Chicken, if you don't look for him, he will already find him. Isn't that nonsense? This is the case for many planes. Chicken, there is something wrong. Okay. He looks at your insignificant eyes, obviously it is not good intentions, he will not like to take advantage of girls on the bus, want to reach out to you with a sinful hand, right? Words of song. The chicken's jumping brain hole made her wonder how to praise. The chicken said more and more excited, he's approaching you, Mom, I guessed it. This guy is holding you behind you now, shit, why hasn't he stretched out his salty pig hand, he's inside it must still be tangled. Do you have a needle in the wood? His hand is almost on your shoulder, so give him a good shot at this time. What's the point of getting a shot? It's interesting to hit a shot. There are many people in the carriage. It's most suitable for stealing love. Juwei's voice was even more exciting than the chick. Words of song. When there was only one chicken, although she was also smashed, she regarded this guy as a ruthless child. After all, this guy has never experienced it, which is an addiction. However, there are now 9 more tales. Yan Ji heard the two guys sing and harmonize, and wanted to explode in place. Li Che's hand has been photographed on Yan Ji's shoulder. Classmate, are you a student of Youth University? Yan Ji turned his head and squinted at the hand on his shoulder. Li Che busy smiled at Yan Ji and put his hand back without a trace. Yan Ji nodded. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 474. Li Che smiled brighter and brighter. His teeth were white and bright, and his dark eyebrows matched his deep eyes. Although he was a little stupid when he laughed, because of his good looks, the boy seemed quite sunny. I just transferred to Youth University. I went to Youth University to report on the first day. I was thinking that I had never been to Youth University. I didn't know how to get off the train. I didn't expect to be able to meet my classmates. Can you bother getting off the bus and showing me the way? This girl a method, Yanj really wanted to give him a perfect score, but thinking of the fragile and careful liver of this guy, she lowered the perfect score to the passing line again. Yan Ji made a gesture, and Li Che had squeezed beside Yan Ji. The ant next to him was already fat, and was squeezed left and right by Li Che. He rolled his eyes and said earnestly to Yan Ji, the girl is still students, this simple age is most likely to be cheated. Now that there are so many swindlers, the little girl looks so beautiful, but she needs a little snack. Yan Ji smiled and frowned, and she made a thank you gesture to her aunt. Li Che was blinded by the smile of Yan Ji. He stared at Yan Ji stupidly, only half a while before the mother said that he meant something. Although the little girl in front of her looks really good, but he doesn't look bad, how can this aunt treat him with such a handsome face as a liar? I really do. However, Li Che immediately noticed the difference between the words because of the small movements of words. He hesitated and asked her, can you hear me? Yan Ji nodded, and she took out her phone and typed a few words to show him, I can't speak, but my ears are fine. The turn of the car was a sharp break, and Yan Ji's body was slumped to the side. Li Che grabbed her wrist in time, and when the inertia went back, Yan Ji ran directly into his arms. Ant's eyes almost stared at Li Che's back. After the car was stable, Li Che released Yanj in time. He was afraid that Yanj would be embarrassed. Chow Yanj said with a smile, this bus is so fierce that we should complain to him. Just as Yanj was about to type on her mobile phone, Li Che held her hand and said, this car is not stable. Don't hit the phone, just listen to me. Yan Ji nodded and put the phone in his pocket. Li Che looked at the long fluttering eyelashes when she lowered her head. At this moment, her heart felt as if it had been scratched by feathers, until the song raised her head. Then he concealed and smiled at her face. I was recruited to Youth University this year. It is in the School of Physical Education. How about you? I guess you are in the Academy of Fine Arts. Yan Song nodded. The car arrived at the station at this time. Li Che got out of the car first, raised his hand to help Yanj. Yanj had avoided him and got out of the car. Before the car closed, I could still hear the ant on the car angrily saying, the young people now don't learn anything at all, they know that they are walking around little girls, and they don't know how many girls are harmed. Li Che didn't hear it, and smiled at Yan Ji and said, do you know where the Physical Education Academy goes? When I get off the bus, I can't tell the difference between the northeast and southeast. Yan Ji nodded, and she reached out to signal Li Che to give her cell phone. Li Che was so happy that he thought that this was to exchange contact methods with him. As a result, Yanj found out the mapping software in his mobile phone and directly helped him enter the destination sports college. Li Che. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 475. After helping Li Che set up the route, Yan Ji returned the mobile phone to Li Che, waved and waved to Li Che, then turned and took a step. Li Che. Although in the end we want to go our separate ways, there is no need to go our separate ways now. He quickly took a few steps to keep up with Yanj. Sister Shue left a contact method, today sister help me, will I have time to invite Sister Shue to eat in the cafeteria? Yanj shook his head and smiled and waved his hand to reject him. Li Che's footsteps could no longer move. I followed Yanj into the Academy of Fine Arts and watched several boys greet Chow Yanj as soon as they saw Yan Ji. Li Huan, you came early today. Li Huan, have you had breakfast? Li Huan, did you finish the class you arranged yesterday? I haven't thought about it yet. Can you use my homework for reference? Li Che, he was already squeezed out of the 13th line by these boys. Nine Tails, there are the most beautiful men and women in the Academy of Fine Arts, and they all have open styles. It is easy to sleep. Miss, you are a blessed body. I'm the best at picking men. I can help you. Pick a few, it's definitely the kind of lively device. Chicken, the men in this kind of place are too weak. There is no masculinity, and the wood can't look down. This guy finally said something worthy, and he didn't have time to say goodbye to the chickens who had already learned about it. He listened to the chickens and said, sleeping these defective products is better than sleeping powerful people. Anyway, in the future, I am also a good person. Grandchildren showing off talk. Nine Tails, what's wrong, sleep together. Anyway, there is only plowed plows, no plowed land. The of the younger sister is the advantage, and this kind of thing can still fail. Yanj blocked the sound of the geek system. She really wanted to throw a decontamination powder bomb into the system space. After the morning class, Yanj walked towards the cafeteria. The food in Kingda cafeteria is very good, and it ranks high in the country. Along the way to the cafeteria, many boys tried to chat with Yanj, but they were ignored by Yanj. When he was about to reach the cafeteria, he was patted on the shoulder. "Hey, Sweja sees you again, we really have a fate." If it weren't for the help of Sweja, I wouldn't have gone so smoothly. "The meal of Sweja?" I asked. Yan Ji turned his head and looked at the extremely familiar Li Che. The young man is good, and smiles brightly at her. The basketball in his hand keeps turning, and he looks really full of energy in a sports suit. There were several boys behind the lad, all looking at the lad and his sister in shock. They probably wanted to take care of this new classmate, so they brought them to the cafeteria for dinner. As a result, the new classmates had left their sister-in-law to take notice. Yan Ji's eyes fell back on Li Che's face again, and Li Che immediately smiled brightly at Yan Che. "Stop the sister, what you want to eat, my card has just been charged, enough for you to eat?" I always feel that in this plane, the stupid white sweet configuration of the powerful is a bit spicy. Yan Ji nodded. After taking a few steps, Li Che remembered that there seemed to be a companion. He turned his head and waved at his companions. "I met an old friend to talk about the past, and I'll invite you to eat another day." The words immediately turned away, for fear that the friends behind him would let him make a table. His companions who were abandoned by him, seeing with my own eyes what it means to be obsessed with meaning.